Hi, friends. Welcome back. I'm Elle, and I help women who want more out of life create wealth and ease by listening to their inner wisdom and living their dreams. I like to talk about your dreams, my dreams, how we're living them, and how we can live them with ease and abundance instead of effort, exhaustion, and burnout. So, what dream are we talking about today? It's the one where I packed up my life, got a 10-year visa, and moved more than halfway around the world to Rwanda in East Africa in January of 2022, right in the middle of the Panini Press, also known as COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're going to be talking about why I, as a Zennial, African-American, unmarried, child-free woman, moved all the way to Rwanda, East Africa, in the middle of a Panini Press. How long did I end up staying there? And why am I no longer there? But most importantly, we're going to be talking about how my journey might be useful to you if you are also a single Black American woman in your middle age and trying to figure out if, one, moving abroad is the right decision for you, how to navigate challenges that come up while you're living abroad, and things like cultural connections and community. Where do they fit on the scale when you're also thinking about climates that resonate with you, countries that value who you are as a human being, money, time, and other things within a culture that actually feel good and make sense, like convenience and ease of living there. We're going to also be talking about what made this dream so exciting, what I ended up learning, and why I inevitably made the decision to move on. I started thinking about moving to Rwanda after someone I knew when I was living in Chiang Mai, Thailand, another Black American woman who's also unmarried and child-free. After Thailand, she moved to Vietnam, and after Vietnam, she moved to Rwanda. Truthfully, Rwanda wasn't even on my map. It wasn't even on my radar. It was not a place that I was even thinking about. My only knowledge was the Tutsi genocide that happened in 1990. That was my only understanding of Rwanda and the movie Hotel Rwanda, which I've still never seen to this day. And I went to college with a couple of Rwandans, but I didn't know anything about their experience in Rwanda or them living in Rwanda. I didn't know anything about the country itself. So when I saw that someone I knew very casually from when we were both living in Thailand just a few years prior was living in Rwanda, I reached out to her to have a conversation, to ask her questions, to better understand why she was living in Rwanda, if she enjoyed it, all those things. And when she told me how clean it was, how safe it was, how responsive the country was being in light of COVID, my radar peaked up. Now, when COVID first came on the global scene, I was living in a little pueblo in Mexico, which I loved, and I would have stayed there, but I don't speak Spanish. And so if anything happened, I would have been up the creek without a paddle because I wouldn't know how to communicate or tell my symptoms or ask for what I needed. And so I was in Oakland, California for the first 5 months after I left Mexico. And then I came back to my place in Seattle, which I've just kept as I travel and relocate. So it's easier to reintegrate when I want to come back into the country. But me and winter in Seattle is not a good look because it's cold, it's wet, it's overcast, it's gray. It's not a place I actually want to be, and I don't enjoy it. So I knew I had my eye on the prize that I needed to get out. I started doing deep dive research, and I started noticing that Rwanda was taking incredible care of its citizens in terms of responsiveness to COVID-19. They were being very productive with testing, very deliberate with vaccines. They were being very, very intentional about making sure that the country stayed as safe and healthy as possible. When the pandemic ended, all of the documented COVID deaths in the entire country of Rwanda were literally 1,462 in the entire country of Rwanda. And that just shows you how proactive and health-oriented and life-oriented they were being. And I love that. Being in the United States, where it felt like it was very haphazard, very like, throw your hands up, it doesn't really matter, do your own thing, figure it out, states get to decide, and citizens essentially get to decide. I wanted to be somewhere where I could actually feel like the government cared, where the government was taking care of their citizens. And so Rwanda seemed to be really standing out. Also, I wanted to be somewhere that was warm and sunny and where my dollar could go relatively far, where I could be around Black people. This was incredibly important to me. And so Rwanda seemed to be, again, standing head and shoulders above the rest. I found out about the 10-year reciprocity visa. I applied, I received it. And my first trip to Rwanda was in December 2021. I wanted to go house hunting, see if I really liked it, see if it was somewhere that I feel like I could be comfortable being. And it was great. It was beautiful. I had a good time. I had a good visit. I met a few other Black Americans who were living in Rwanda. It seemed very clean, very peaceful. All of the things that I had been told about it were true. And so it resonated with me. I also went to Zanzibar and I was at a gorgeous resort on the beach for a week. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I loved being there. I actually extended my stay by a couple of days because I enjoyed it so much. So Zanzibar, Tanzania was really beautiful to me. I've heard Tanzania and Tanzania, so I might just say it both ways. Okay. It was beautiful. And so I was like, okay, good. I came back, got all my affairs in orders, and left again in January of 2022. My expectation in choosing Rwanda and getting the 10-year visa, because I bought a one-way ticket, I thought I would just be there for the foreseeable future. I had no plans to return to the United States anytime soon. I was like, this has all the things I wanted, ticked all the boxes. It was clean, it was safe, there was tons of Black people, it was affordable. Like all the things that I thought were really important to me were there and so much more. I had a wonderful 5-bedroom house, which I loved. I had someone who was with me from the day I moved into my house until the day I left. She was there with me. Her name is Lydia. She was my household manager. She did literally everything for me as my domestic support person. She cooked 3 meals a day from scratch, Monday through Saturday. She cleaned my entire house from top to bottom, including the floors, 6 days a week. She went to the grocery store for me. She went to the market for me. She walked my dog. She did every single thing I needed to keep me afloat and really take good care of me. And for that, I am forever grateful. She's such a sweet person, such a darling human, such good company. Like, I'm so grateful that I could hire her for the entire time I was there. She made my life so much easier. On paper, Rwanda was fantastic. It has the temperature that I like. It's clean, it's safe. As a Black American, I didn't have to worry about being in danger from the people there or from the law enforcement. I just could live my best life in a peaceful, clean, safe way. It was a great infrastructure. It's a very easy place to be. But there are 2 things that were not on my list that I really now are non-negotiables for all of my international moves, adventures, and long-term relocations. The first one was, although there were Black Americans who were in community and had some events together, for the most part, they fell into 2 categories. Category number 1, they came with a built-in family. They came married. They came with children. They came with a partner. They came with a parent. They came with someone or something who was also there with them. There's tons of single people there also, but the people I noticed who were had the most active social lives, who were most active in community, for the most part, came with an infrastructure of community, family, belonging. The other category of person was out there just working hard, creating, building, buying land, making homes, creating enterprises, really just working hard, which is great for them, but that is not the lifestyle that I enjoy, especially when I'm moving abroad. I like to have a life of leisure and ease and luxury. I like to be able to do as little as possible and take it as far as I can in terms of my well-being and self-care. So I was able to do that in a lot of ways in Rwanda. For example, I got a 2-hour massage once a week. Now that was delicious and delightful, and I think that was maybe $75 US. That was something that was very important as part of my well-being and self-care. I rented a hotel room at the Marriott in Kigali once a month because despite having 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms in my house, I didn't have any bathtubs. And so I would rent a suite in the Marriott, which is the fanciest hotel in Kigali, so that I could soak in the bathtub and luxuriate at the pool and have delicious meals. That was one of the other ways I took care of myself. And so there were things to do in that sense. There were options and opportunities, but I was very alone. That's what I did not realize. Now, I've spent a lot of time alone, probably more time alone than most people in our society. But I want to be able to be out and about and do things and spend time with people and have relationships and community and a sense of belonging. In Rwanda, although there are some things that are happening, there wasn't enough. It didn't feel close enough. It wasn't proximal. It felt like a very difficult thing to actually find a sense of community and belonging within even the expat community. It wasn't as accessible as I like it to be. I like really low hanging social fruit. And I've experienced that in cultures that are more open and receptive when I've traveled to Cuba and Ghana and India and Nepal even. They're more invitational. It's easier to kind of being welcomed in, invited into parties or their homes or events or experiences. And I have crashed parties in all of those countries joyfully and been welcomed while doing it. But Rwanda is different. My thought is that they're still recovering from the Tutsi genocide in 1990. Everyone in Rwanda is very open and about talking about the genocide, about communicating. Everybody has a genocide story, even if they weren't alive during those times. I think that interpersonally, they still are learning to trust each other. And so they're not an open and invitational and welcome society in the way that I experienced it. There's tons of people outside all the time. They're walking around all the time, but it's not a social invitational culture. People are very polite. You can interact, but they're not like, hey, come over for coffee or come hang out. Let's go do this together. That's not the kind of culture I experienced. And as a single woman who doesn't have children and travels solo, it's important to me to be in societies that are socially open, that are socially welcoming, that I can feel a sense of belonging and connection, where I can make friends, where I can be invited to things, where I can better understand the culture, because I truly believe that you're not really understanding a culture if you can't spend time with people at their homes or at their environment or their churches or places that they actually gather and are in community with each other. It's just one surface level of tourism, and that's not really how I like to travel or I like to experience life, either at home or abroad. But Rwanda isn't that kind of culture in my experience. It's not warm and welcoming and invitational. They're warm, but just to a certain extent. And that can be very difficult if everybody else who are Americans, and Black Americans in particular, are booed up with, or they're in their own unit. The third category is people who are just hyper introverts. They don't need a lot of community. They don't need a lot of people. They could not talk to someone for weeks at a time and they'll be fine. Even though I'm an introvert, I'm not that introverted. And so if everybody in the expat community that I encountered was either a super building, industrious, enterprising, all that out and about doing things, which sounds exhausting to me. I don't want to do that. Or two, came with the family unit. Or three, enjoy being solo dolo. There's not a lot of room for if you are solo and social, right? And you want community and you want friends and you want a belonging, but you don't have a boo, you don't have kids. There's not a ton of activities to drop into regularly and to have an active and vibrant solo social life. Also, energetically for me, it felt barren. It felt like it wasn't pouring back into me. It wasn't nourishing me. It wasn't nurturing me. And I think part of that's the social aspect of it, but it's also just energetically. Like, I like being around elders, and there's not a ton of elders in Rwanda because of the Tutsi genocide, obviously. I like kind of intergenerational ways of being outside, being in community. And so energetically, it felt barren for me, which was difficult because I was really working on my business, nourishing my business. It just felt hard, like hard ground where nothing was really growing for me. Other people have had different experiences, but it still takes a lot of work and labor to actually till the energetic soil to create some kind of growth and flourishing life. If you are a Black American woman of a certain age who's unmarried and child-free, and you like having an interactive social life or options for a social life that doesn't require digging underground to find people to hang out with, I would not recommend Rwanda as somewhere to live. But I would recommend it as somewhere to visit, because I still believe that every Black American needs to go to Rwanda to just, at minimum, reset your nervous system and experience what does it feel like to be safe, to be clean, to be well taken care of, to be thought about by a government, and be surrounded by Black people. What does that feel like? It was different for me from Ghana in a lot of ways, because even though people are friendly and warm and receptive in Ghana, as a non-Ghanaian, right, it felt very transactional. Like there's a lot of hello, sis, hello, sister, at least when I was there, right? A lot of people and hi, hello, hello. But it was always trying to sell me something. There was always something on the end of it. It wasn't just like welcoming and invitational for the sake of being welcoming and invitational, which I don't expect that from just walking into a room. That's not an international cultural understanding of relationship. And so Rwanda definitely wasn't that either. But Cuba, on the other hand, this is why I love Cuba, was that without strings attached, right? Without any transaction, without any trying to get something from me. It was literally just like, I would be walking down the street, people would be playing drums, and I in their apartment or in their house, and I would like be, because I'm nosy, be poking my head, and they'd be like, come on in, right? And I did. I would go to parties. I felt very safe there, very comfortable, very loved. I love seeing all the Black people. I love being surrounded by that kind of Black love and Black joy. It was a very open, very invitational, very welcoming culture. So I've had this range of experiences in many other places. I've been to 20, 26, 27 countries at this point. I've had a wide range of experiences. So that's how I can make the distinction that, oh, this wasn't a warm and welcoming and invitational place. And that is what I need. Now, if you come with your family in tow and you don't need none of that, and you're like, we're a unit, we're fine by ourselves, maybe your experiences will be very different, even though I didn't end up making some other friends who are also Black American who had kids. And it was still difficult for their kids to somewhat make friends with Rwandans and for them to make friends with Rwandan kids' parents. It's a beautiful place to visit, to rest, to reset your nervous system. But in terms of planting seeds or rooting deep, Rwanda did not give me that. I still have my 10-year visa. I have no plans, no intentions to go back anytime, but it was a great place to wait out the pandemic. And that's what I did. Before I even visited the first time, to make sure that I was going to set up the housing that I needed, that was going to be great for me. I joined Facebook groups. I started watching a ton of YouTube videos. I talked to my homegirl who I knew from Thailand and started getting resources so that I could find an agent to help me find a house. Now, the first time I was there was an agent who was very popular on YouTube, and he showed me a couple of houses, but nothing that I liked. And he actually wasn't a great person. So I went back to the drawing board. But when I came back the second time, I got a reference for another real estate agent who showed me around, and we found the perfect house. She's also does training for domestic support. And so that's how Lydia, my domestic support person, was with me from the first day I moved in to the day that I left. That made my move and transition so much easier. But part of it was also, there was someone who I found who lives in Rwanda, another Black American woman who was renting out a room in her house for Black Americans who wanted to transition from the US into Rwanda. And so for my first couple of weeks there, as I was getting ready and my house was getting ready, I rented a room from her. And that included meals and gave me a sense of belonging and connection. If you're thinking about making a big move and need guidance, book an Insight Hour call with me. We can dive into your unique questions and help you navigate challenges like this with confidence about relocating, where you want to go, what's going to support you in getting there, how you can best navigate the process, and so much more. I ended up leaving Rwanda because I was having a medical crisis. And although I had been to the hospital in Rwanda 3 or 4 times, and they had actually taken very good care of me, the intervention that I needed was more extreme and more severe. And I ended up needing to have surgery. I didn't want to have surgery or start the recovery process in Rwanda. And so I ended up having to leave. I knew that Rwanda was not the place for me long term, which I only could know because I lived there. I was like, dang, where am I going to go next? Right? I had no idea because I've been kind of feeling like perpetually looking for somewhere that I want to live long term, somewhere that is my home. Although on paper, Rwanda has all the things that I really love. It's clean, it's safe, it's green, it's surrounded by Black people, it's beautiful, it's easy cost of living. Without a community, without a sense of belonging, without a social network, and without an invitational culture, I knew it wasn't the right place for me. And the truth is, leaving is sometimes a necessity so that you can find the right place. You can know where your next step is going to be. You don't know, though, until you go. It's not theoretical. It's not something that you can conceive of on paper or even through YouTube. When you're there, when you're on the ground, when you're living your day-to-day life, that's how you actually know that it's the right choice for you. And you have to trust that and follow it. I'm in the process of preparing to relocate abroad again. As of right now, it's November 2024. I have a one-way ticket that leaves on the end of January 2025. I'm not disclosing yet to anybody where I'm going, and I probably won't share here until I actually arrive. But just know that I haven't given up that move abroad. I haven't given up to live abroad. I haven't given up the idea that somewhere else can be more loving and supportive and a healthy country ruled by a government that actually cares about its citizens. That's not out of the question. And so I'm very excited for my new journey, and I'm excited to keep you posted and share with you along the way as I'm preparing to go. So a couple of key takeaways that I just want you to keep in mind if you are a Black American Xennial woman who's unmarried and child-free and you're curious about living abroad. The first thing I want to remind you of off top is that you are not trapped. You do not have to stay in one place. You do not have to live in one way. You have options, and the world literally is your oyster. And even though the United States is problematic in so many different ways, one of the greatest blessings and gifts that we have is our passport, which gives us access to so many places around the world. Use it. Leverage it. Go where you can. Don't become a neo-colonizer by exploiting your American privilege and your American access, but utilize that passport. You have it for a reason. I made the move on my own term, not only to Rwanda, but before Rwanda, I've lived in Mexico. Before Mexico, I've lived in Thailand, and I've traveled over 26, 27 countries in the world, almost all on my own, almost all solo. And for the most part, I've made friends along the road. And that is so invaluable. So if I can do it, you can do it. What it takes is courage and clarity and the confidence to go. You don't have to have the perfect plan. You don't have to have everything purchased. You don't have to have all your boxes checked and your T's crossed. There are some foundational basic things that you do need, but you don't need to have every single thing. That, I think, is more often than not a practice of procrastination than actual preparation. Leaving Rwanda was not the end of my expat journey. It was just another step in the road, and I'm very, very excited to go to my next adventure, which fits now based on the things I learned in Rwanda, that I do need community, that I do need belonging, that I do need social activities that are already happening, that I can drop into and plug into when I feel social and have other things to do when I don't. I am very excited because my next destination matches this perfectly. So you might be wondering, what are the most important things for you to consider when you're moving abroad as a single woman? Now, your considerations might be different than my considerations because we are different people. We have different lifestyles, different needs. So for me, my top 5, the climate. I need sun, I need heat, I need warmth. I can handle humidity, I can handle dry heat. I just need to be hot. I also need a low cost of living. I need somewhere that my dollar can go far. I need a warm and welcoming culture that values kindness, that not only with foreigners, but also with each other. This is very important to me, that I am in a culture that actually enjoys joy, that values joy. Those are my top 3. Some other ones that round out my top 5 interchangeably could be, I can go to other places within the region easily. I can fly to different places with convenience. That the food is good, because even though Rwanda was great in many ways, the food was just basic. It was sustenance food. They eat to live. It's not an art. And I, as a tourist son, do need good food. I do need to eat well and often. And also the adaptability to give myself flexibility to explore. So even though I had gone to Rwanda and spent some time there looking for houses and all that, I still didn't really understand what I needed from the place until I actually lived there. And thankfully, because I was having the health crisis, my landlord was flexible and generous and let me get out of our year-long lease. So if you're thinking about moving abroad and you want to clarify your next steps, book an inside hour call with me. Let's talk about your vision. Let's talk about your dreams. Let's talk about your questions. Let's talk about what you want to do and where you want to go, what your life experience has already prepared you for, so that you can actually have the most incredible trip, or the most incredible long-term stay, or the most incredible slow nomad journey. And it's totally possible. If I can do it, you can do it. So I just want you to remember that there are always options. The journey is yours to design. Your dream is unique to you. Your calling is unique to you. What you want to do, who you want to be, how you want to explore the world is unique to you. And it's important that you honor it so that you can live it. You don't have to get it perfect on the first try. It doesn't have to be the place that you want to be forever and ever. Oh man, living abroad is really about experimenting, exploring, and discovering what works best for you so that you can actually find the place that you want to be long term. So while I'm still exploring my next steps, I would love, love, love to hear about yours. Have you ever thought about moving abroad? If so, where have you thought about going? Are you currently living abroad or planning to live abroad? What excites you? What worries you? If you could wave a magic wand and lived anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? And last but not least, what's your biggest question about living abroad as an unmarried, child-free Black American woman? Please share with me. I would love to hear more about your journey. This conversation is not about scaring you off. It's about helping you make decisions that are right for you with all the information that I wish I had, all the things that I had not thought about and may have been useful. I have no regrets. It was a wonderful time living there, and I have better information and better foresight for the next time. In my next video, I'll be talking about all of the different factors that I considered and really took to heart as I was preparing to decide on my next destination. I'll tell you about all my processes and practices for getting there and how I finally made that decision. Looking forward to seeing you there. Bye for now.